Kidnapping continues in the northern regions of the Republic of Cameroon as a result of the insecurity prevailing there, especially in the far north region with the Boko Haram insurgency that's been going on for more than 10 years today. And security and defense forces are stepping up efforts to stop this illegal activity of kidnapping. And after Senegal and Chad signed peace deals with rebels and secessionists, observers are now questioning why this is not happening in the Republic of Cameroon. Senegalese and Chadian government authorities met with separatists and rebel leaders on neutral grounds and signed peace deals involved in view of solving the tensions in the country. But in Cameroon, this is yet to happen. We begin this newscast in the Adamaoua region of the Republic of Cameroon, where authorities, notably military authorities, are stepping up efforts to stop the illegal activity of kidnapping. And a kidnapper has been a security crisis brought about by the Boko Haram insurgency that's been going on for over 10 years now, with sporadic attacks of Boko Haram militants in parts of the far north region of the country. Details in this report compiled by Innocent.
They were two in number, and the neutralized was identified as Yusufa from the Central African Republic. They reportedly arrived in Maplang, not far from Toua in Gaoundéré, Adamaoua region, at about 2 a.m. August 6, armed. They entered Amadou Yero's house, has him tied up at gunpoint, and took him along with them. According to this interpreter, the suspected kidnappers, armed with an AK-47, tied up Yero and took him away. The captive later managed to escape after successfully fighting his abductors. Unfortunately for Yero, that was not the end. The enemies followed him to his house, where they took away one of his daughters, Jenabou Amadou, 20 years old. After the girl's father escaped, he rested somewhere before continuing his journey home. Upon arriving, he was informed by the other children. The same individuals who took him away returned and took their sister away. Hearing this, Janabou's father reported to the B elements, who alongside some locals went after the alleged kidnappers to rescue the girl. One of the kidnappers, Yusufa from Central African Republic, was neutralized, and the girl reunited with her father. According to the girl, God saved her life and from being raped. She could only cry and thank the security forces for saving her life. The intervention led to the confiscation of arms, ammunitions, a mobile telephone, and several other materials. It should be remembered, kidnapping for ransom and highway robbery are very common in Gaoundéré, Adamaoua region. Resistant crimes authorities in the region have been battling to eradicate for years.
Still in the northern regions of the Republic of Cameroon, some cultural practices have created an enabling ground for the continuous violations of rights of citizens in those parts of the country, especially young girls. Many of them are deprived of education and, of course, their right to education, and forced into early marriage. And the new Lamido of Bogo is expected to tackle this challenge. This call is coming from the population who think that this has to change. Details with Essie Lucy Liengu.
29% of girl children in the far north region of Cameroon are still forced into early marriages. These girls are denied the opportunity to go to school because they are expected to do chores like cooking, cleaning of their married homes. The new Lamido of Bogo, Yerima Bello Hamadou, has been urged by the elites to help eradicate this phenomenon.
Nous sommes d'abord très contents, nous remercions
We are very grateful to God for sending us this Lamido. The population of Bogo is very happy. Our wish is that he encourages the education of a girl child, sensitize the population. I'm also convinced that this new Lamido will be a role model for the youth because he is someone who has a master of the population. All we wish is long life and success to his reign. More than 3,000 people gathered in front of the chiefdom to welcome their new Lamido, who according to them should be dynamic.
Parce que c'est un arrondissement qui a besoin de celui qui peut très bien le gérer.
Bogo subdivision needs someone who can take care of the economic, political and social plan. A Lamido who can see into our unity no matter our diverse ethnics.
Bogo est vraiment mixé. Bogo est mixé.
Chaired by the senior divisional officer of Diamare, 11 candidates with 33 voters unanimously made Yarima Bello Lamido.
Nous avons procédé conformément à la loi.
We proceeded in accordance with the law to the consultations necessary for the designation of the new Lamido of Bogo. Everything was done in total transparency.
De donner, de choisir un des princes pour succéder au défunt Lamido.
At the end of the ceremony, the senior divisional officer advised the population of Bogo to bring support to their new chief.
Now to the Douala 4 subdivision, where the new divisional officer is expected to help in tackling problems of underdevelopment challenges affecting that part of the country's economic after Douala, including bad roads and inadequate supply of social amenities. Details in this report by Mala Glory.
The main road linking Momé and Bangwa in Bangwa subdivision of the Open Camp Division, West region of Cameroon, is in a very deplorable condition.
Bangwa a un problème principal, la route.
The greatest problem faced by the inhabitants of Bangwa is the bad state of road. We plead with the authorities to construct good roads in this locality which will contribute to its development. This situation is one of the challenges faced by the population as they call on the newly installed divisional officer, Nuelenom Marie Law, to mediate in order to bring relief to the people.
Madame Nuelenom Marie Law, prenez le commandement.
The installation ceremony continued in Bafang with Belian Giaru as the new DO for Bafang, taking over from August Ndungumbang. He is expected to fight against the distribution and consumption of fake medications and to limit the increasing number of clandestine health units.
La hausse peut faire entrant pour attaquer rapidement les questions d'assainissement de la ville, notamment en matière d'hygiène et salubrité, secteur de moto-taxi, transport urbain.
They were installed following a presidential decree of July 14, 2022.
Malaglory reporting there on the challenges awaiting the new divisional officers of Bangwa and Bafang in the West region of the Republic of Cameroon. The National Oil Refinery Company, Sonara, is the most indebted public company in Cameroon. Sonara owes over 277 billion francs CFA, according to a report from the Sinking Fund of Cameroon. Now, for me, Armstrong Sander, in this report presents the situation as far as the debts of public companies in Cameroon are concerned. Details coming up.
Document says as of June 30th, 2022, the total internal debts of public enterprises and establishments stood at 392.8 billion francs CFA. On the list of most indebted public enterprises, the National Oil Refinery Company Sonara tops. Sonara alone is indebted to the tune of 277.6 billion francs CFA, representing 70% in this category.
In details, Sonara owes 247.2 billion francs CFA to banks and 28.8 billion francs CFA to suppliers. Next to Sonara, the Cameroon Airlines company Cameco has a total internal debt of 62.4 billion francs CFA. On the third position, and immediately after the Cameroon Airlines company Cameco, is the Douala Port Authority, the PAD, with an internal debt of 17.9 billion francs CFA. Next to the Douala Port Authority is the Cameroon Telecommunications, Camtel, with 15.9 billion francs CFA. Camwater, which is yet to find a formula to the repeated water crisis in towns and cities in Cameroon, has a total debt of 5.2 billion francs CFA as of June 30, 2022. Other highly indebted public enterprises and establishments includes the Cameroon Development Corporation, the CDC, with 9.4 billion francs CFA, the MI2 with 3.3 billion francs CFA, while the SCDP, Sodecoton and the CAA were not classified.
Officials of the National Olympic and Sports Committee say they are negotiating with the organizers of the Islamic Solidarity Games to reschedule the encounters that Cameroon couldn't play because they had not yet arrived Turkey. And the declaration was made by Colonel Kalkaba Malboum as the Cameroonian delegation to the Islamic Solidarity Games finally arrived Turkey at 3:30 a.m. Now, Smart Chikan Gabriel says that the Republic of Cameroon has already grabbed a gold medal or one medal in the Islamic Solidarity Games. His report.
Expected in Konya at least 48 hours to participate in the Islamic Solidarity Games, Team Cameroon's delegation only left the country en route to Turkey late Monday evening through the Nsimaleni International Airport. The delegation later arrived in the early hours of Tuesday in Turkey. Cameroon's Olympic team that missed out in their first match against Algeria is last in their group with no points, but still have 2 games against Senegal and Turkey. The host, Turkey, defeated Senegal 1-0 in the game's opener. Guy Fortuné's side had their first training session in Turkey before taking part in the opening ceremony of the Islamic Solidarity Games. Apart from the Olympic team, the handball and volleyball teams of Cameroon also missed out in their first games because of their late arrival. The late arrival of Team Cameroon didn't stop Cameroon from harvesting their first medal at the games. Sarah Hamfo picked up a bronze medal in the table tennis event. Cameroon's late arrival in Turkey has been blamed on poor management by the officials at the National Olympic and Sports Committee, who denied to delegate powers to collaborators in their absence. It was a special flight that took the delegation from Cameroon to Konya in Turkey. Even before the opening ceremony, host nation Turkey is already topping the medal table with a total of 20 medals, 10 gold, 6 silver and 4 bronze, while Cameroon is ranked 12 with 1 bronze medal.
That's it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Our guest today is Barrister Nineba Innocent Akufo, attorney and counsel at law in New York, United States of America. Barrister, thank you for joining us today.
2 different perspectives. If you absolutely what he did, and it was fantastic, his outing. Again, he did a presentation in a language that's commonly understood by the people of the former British Southern Cameroons, and that's a way to cut across the chase and get to right to the people, because every mother back in the village would pretty much understand, rather than speaking in another language that they might find it a little bit difficult to decipher. But if you are coming from the other side also, you would take issues with what the Prime Minister said. Again, there are certain things that we would never take for granted, especially me. I mean, the Prime Minister, he said it, he's a father, and I believe that. And of course, on the other side, on a very personal side, he is a teacher, he taught me, and we will always give that our respect to him. But this is what, this harangue or this diatribe that the Prime Minister got himself involved in all boiled down to the issue in the former British Southern Cameroons and the Republic of Cameroon. He delved it down to three different issues, language, culture, education, and the law. And of course, as somebody who taught the law, he should be in a very much more better position to fully understand what it is, to mischaracterize a position of somebody with authority or somebody who actually espouses a particular idea or philosophy of the law. That's something that we have to look into in the course of this program. But again, in the book, The Land We Leave Behind, it is said in there that truth is achieved at the altar of ideas rather than in the trenches of invectives. And if we look into what the Prime Minister said as the basis of the ingrained crisis in the Cameroons, he thinks there is a solution also already, but I don't think there is, because it's far from the truth. When I look at what he said, I always look at when this issue started or when it came to the forefront. The late Barrister Muna, may his soul rest in peace, at the Bamenda station, I watched a rally where he was there. He stood on the podium and said, and told the younger generation that, hey, look, you have to take these matters into your hands because I am 70. I'm quoting the barrister, the late barrister. I am 70-something years old. Do you think I would have the strength and energy to come back and fight for you people? You have to wake up and fight for yourself. And my issue with what the Prime Minister is doing to the people of Cameroon and the Cameroonians, the west of the Mongo, the Southern Cameroons or the former British Southern Cameroons, the way you want to call them, is that we all know what the truth is, and you propagate something that is not absolutely true. Secession is a demand for a formal withdrawal from a central political authority by a member of a unit or units on the basis of a claim to independence or a sovereign status. So if you take it from that premise, you might ask yourself, but why should people be seceding? Or why even give them those appellations, calling them secessionist? A secession can be considered as the outcome of four separate factors. The one involves the establishment of a collective agreement between the people that they want to leave a union or they want to leave a particular entity. The second process is, it's a familiar collective action by those people again to decide to leave that particular union. And now the next one comes the basis of a secession, which is always rooted to economic, social, and political turmoil in the part that is trying to secede, whichever we want to call it, whether it's a secession, irredentism, or it's a separation, whichever appellation you want to use it. It's something that we have to look deep into. And of course, if you look at those three factors, you realize that there has been social, political, economic, and all the subjugations, all the appellatives that you can use to met on the Southern Cameroonians, it has come from the Republic of Cameroon with their paymaster, the French. And that's exactly what foiled all this. We grew up, as I said before, sometimes, we grew up trying to forge a union so that two people can coexist, no matter their differences. But it has come to the point where these people are trying to, everybody has decided that, no, to be able to live separate, to live in peace and harmony, it is better that we live separately. But that's something that the government does not want to hear. But again, it is something that's absolutely necessary for us to sit down and talk about. Because if you talk about the legal system, you talk about the special status that was granted the people of the Southern Cameroons. Now, if I and you could, the regional assemblies that you talked about that have been created in the in those two warring regions, coming from Article 62 of the Constitution of Cameroon, 1996 Constitution. If there is an updated version, I know that's where that law is coming from. But if you read that law, it takes you back to the previous articles before 62, which is about regional councils. So a regional assembly, when the Prime Minister is saying that they granted the people of the Northwest and the Southwest regional assemblies and all other parts of Cameroon regional councils, the law is still the same, because Article 62 takes you back to the creation of regional councils. So the strength and the power of those regional councils from the regional assemblies that the Prime Minister was talking about still comes from the creation of the regional councils, which is something that the President with the stroke of a pen can dissolve it at his wit, and he has done it before. So again, in the hierarchy of laws in a state or in a union, where does your authority come from? Is it from the people or from the stroke of a pen? That's something that we have to look into. For this union to be very peaceful and coexistent, we have to go back to the root. There is an African proverb: the shortest and the quickest way to get to the top of a palm tree is to begin from the bottom. And the bottom is the grand norm, as you call it in the civil law system. The grand norm, which is the big law, which is the Constitution. You have to go back and redefine stuff. You cannot keep taking us back to 1961 and Fumbam. Those days are gone. We have to look back into the world construct of that Cameroon if you want these two people to coexist in peace and harmony with one another. So all the fuss, all the fallacy about what the government has done about a special status, giving the British Southern Cameroonians a special status, my thing is, so who gives the other a special status? Where did that authority come from? How come two people with two equal statuses came into a union and one decides to wake up one day and say, okay, I will grant you a special status? It's all a fallacy. It's a farce. If we want to construct Africa for tomorrow, if we want to construct Africa so that your children should not be crossed.
Barrister Aneneba Innocent Akufo making an assessment of the situation on the ground in the northwest and southwest regions of the country in relation to what the Prime Minister and Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph Janguti, recently said in a pidgin interview with Ambassador or Sman Jikan Gebre on Equinoxe television. Now, Barrister, two countries, Senegal and Chad, have decided to sign peace deals with the rebels and separatists. In Senegal, the Senegalese government authorities signed a peace deal out of the country on a neutral ground with the Casamance separatist leaders, and in Chad the authorities also signed a peace deal out of the country in a neutral ground, on a neutral ground with the rebels in that country. Is this an option for Cameroon?
People can sit together. Why not in Cameroon? Why can people not sit together? It just brings me back to what I just said on the closing statement of the prior comment, that in order to seek peace and justice in the country, in a particular situation, you don't just sit with your friends, you sit with your enemy. That's when you find true peace. We sit and you talk eye to eye, ball to ball with one another, and you come up with a conclusion. Let me tell you, in the constitutional conferences here in the United States, they were heated. They were heated. People fought with one another. They even went to a civil war to come up with a real constitution, something that the United States has lived up to till today. I mean, it has its flaws, but they've perfected it through time. But that's something that we need to do. You cannot take one old constitution, something it's a devolution of colonial power into the fabrics of the society, and of course with new analysis coming again from new treaties that Cameroon has signed with the French and other partners, and you inculcate that into the laws of the society and think that people would just aspire and just believe into those laws. No, it is not true. In conflict resolution, you sit down and you start from the bottom. This idea that some people are lesser than others, that's what is killing Cameroon. That's what's killing Cameroon. And as Einstein said, you know, the greatest problem with ignorance is arrogance. You know, if you're not ignorant and you're not arrogant, or if you're ignorant and you're not arrogant, that's something different. But if you're both ignorant and arrogant, that's something that's so spacious, and it leads society to decadence. And again, as Durkheim also said, you know, when it gets to that particular point, there is, you know, society devolves in trying to devour itself. And I always come back again to look at a great French writer that I revere so much, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. He said, if civilizations do coalesce in favor of new ideologies, it is monstrous they devour one another. So why take guns? I'm not saying there are two civilizations between the Southern Cameroons and the Republic of Cameroon. These are two people with two existential cultures that existed. You know, I may not agree how they got into that particular position, because colonialism itself is a big crime. It's a criminal act that must, you know, it should have been punished at the international level if that system is honest with itself. But that's where we find ourselves. That's where we find the United Nations, where we all belong to. That if that's something that we are at this particular point, then we might consider that we have two different ways of looking at society. But we should not devour one another, because the guns and ammunitions that are falling in Lobialem, the guns and ammunitions that falling in Bamenda, in the southwest province, in the northwest, in Jakiri, in Du, in Binka, in Kwakwa, in all those places, they should not. We don't manufacture guns, and that's not something we should use to kill our people. And if you look at the basis of this, it is because we are using this to bid for the white person, which is, I don't have any issue with multilateral corporations, because they are the ones fueling this conflict in Africa. And of course, they're the ones fueling this conflict in Cameroon, because they want to maintain turf and reap the resources that you guys have, you know, you have at your disposal. But
the peace deal between Senegalese authorities and the separatist leaders in the Casamance separatist leaders was signed in neighboring Guinea-Bissau, and the transitional government leaders in Chad signed a peace deal after negotiations with the rebels in Doha, or better still in Qatar. And in Cameroon, some leaders, some civil society leaders, including those in the diaspora, had been proposing a peace conference in Ghana, but this has never happened. What is hindering this from happening in the case of Cameroon?
That's been signed by the Chadians with the rebels. Why can this not also happen in the Cameroons? Again, if you look at the conflict in the Chad, you have to look about you have to look at Gukuni Wede, you have to look at Hissène Habré, of course Idriss Déby, who just was killed at the battlefront, and decided to, you know, his people decided to have him, you know, have his son take over, again with the support of the French. This is something. The fact that they have they're trying to seek an African solution, not going to France to seek a solution, but within the context of an African, you know, mini union, because they're not in Addis Ababa, then in Guinea-Bissau, and so if they are there trying to seek a solution, that is good. But why not the Southern Cameroons and the Republic of Cameroon? I think if the Prime Minister is absolutely honest, please, there are lots of people that you've been talking to from the diaspora they would at the flick, they will fly to Cameroon, and you people would, again, as I said, talk to you and try to see if there is something that you can do. Again, they are not the right people. With all due respect, Mr. Prime Minister, disagree with some of them that are in the diaspora. Go to them. Don't always condemn the diasporans, because we did not, or people in the diaspora did not bring these problems in Cameroon. If you're looking at the marketing board that closed, diaspora did not do that. If you look at PowerCam that closed, diaspora did not do that. If you look at, Francophones teaching in Pidgin English in our schools in the southern Cameroon. Diasporans did not do that. If you walked into a court in Bamenda or Boya, the magistrate or the chief judge is speaking French to you. Diasporans did not do that. If you look at our economy, it's been crumbled down. If you look at the Santa Coffee estate that we grew up loving, the Nduti estate that we grew up loving and working at, the diasporans did not do that. So you cannot go and use a weaker link and always saying that the diasporans are responsible for the problems in Cameroon. It is the government. It is not the people. It is the government that's responsible. They've been given power to assist the people. No two people can be the president. No two people can be the prime minister of a country, except in a very rebel situation. But that's not where we find ourselves. So if you are in a position of power, we want you to talk to people, even if it means going somewhere neutral, not Cameroon, and talking to your enemies to find a lasting solution to peace. If it means we have to live together, if it means you people have to live as two separate states, but it's something that the people should discuss amongst themselves, because you are killing, not you, the Prime Minister, the government is killing the younger generation. They're killing Cameroons tomorrow, and it is being done by people who have passed their prime, and they are there still clinging to power and authority without any any hope for tomorrow. And I always end by saying, a harmful truth is always better than a useful lie. And if we want to find a solution for tomorrow, we have to be true to ourselves. We do it at the altar of ideas rather.
Barrister Aneneba Innocent Akufo, attorney and counsel at law in New York, thank you for your time.
Mr. Babila, thank you so much for having this discussion with me. I hope everything is good with our loving society. We want it to be peaceful and beautiful. We want to come there with our children and have fun and spend and invest and do stuff that we cannot do over here, because that's where we belong. We don't belong. We belong more to that place. That's where we were born, and we want to be part of that society. Thank you so much.
Thank you for staying with us today. Goodbye.
Equinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte.
If you suspect you may have a coronavirus